In the name of God who creates us and sustains us and will not leave us alone. Alleluia, Christ is risen.
Hallelujah.
This morning's gospel from Matthew is Matthew at his best. Matthew is the Hollywood of the gospel writers. Matthew is the one that's got all the special effects. Matthew is the one that's got all the good, juicy stuff. Mark is really short. Mark ends in fear, and then they add something a little later on. Luke's got a little of the good stuff, but Luke is really concerned with relationships. And John is deeply passionate and intimate with the story of Mary Magdalene. But in Matthew we get the scene best acted out by our youngest thespians of an earthquake and a rock that's been moved away. And there's more to the story. In the text, in fact, in the gospel reading, when Jesus is hanging on the cross, the moment Jesus dies at 3 p.m. in Matthew's gospel, all of a sudden the curtain in the temple is ripped apart by some imaginary hand. There's another earthquake as well. And then there's such earthquakes that the tombs are opened all over, and the dead start walking out of their tombs and into Jerusalem, and they're having conversations with people in Jerusalem. It's the zombie apocalypse in Matthew. It absolutely is the beginning of the whole series, right there. All the dead come out of their tombs and they start walking into town. Matthew's gospel has a cosmic reaction to the resurrection. The universe responds to both the crucifixion and the resurrection. And in Matthew's gospel, as in all the gospels, it's Mary Magdalene and, in this case, Mary, who go to the tomb on Easter morning. Probably that Mary is Jesus' mother. So imagine Jesus' mother and Mary Magdalene going to the tomb in pre-dawn. It's quiet. There's dew on the ground. It's a half light. And they go and I do not do mornings. I will let you know this. I do not do mornings. And so the story always alarms me that when they get to the tomb, and here they are, they're going to do their job to prepare the body that had to get buried quickly before the Sabbath started on Friday. So they couldn't prepare the body. So they're going now to do their job. And it's quiet. And the sun's not really up yet, and they're heading in. And all of a sudden, it's sensory overload. There's an earthquake. There's an angel who is like lightning, the text tells us, and his clothing is dazzling white. And the angel rolls away the rock and then sits on it. Mother Julia said last night in her sermon for Easter Vigil, it's almost like the angel was like, show off, probably like got his finger and moved the rock, and then kind of gets up and sits on it because it's what angels do. And the first words the angel says is, don't be afraid. That's always the first thing that an angel says when an angel meets a human in the text. Don't be afraid, because angels are scary. They're actually not cute. They're terrifying creatures. And the angel says, go. The man you came for, Jesus, he's not here. He told you he would be raised. He is raised. Go, tell the disciples. Mary and Mary Magdalene fall at Jesus' feet. He embraces them. But what the lectionary editors leave out of this story is the next 4, 5, or 6 verses in Matthew. And I think that it's pretty amazing, because what happens next is that the guards, and you remember Violet doing a very good guard who was so shocked that she fell out. Because in the text, the guards are the ones who are like dead men in the Greek, and they literally fall over. Whereas the 2 women don't, because they're not afraid. Here's the text that the editors leave out. It happens just after this. While they were going, some of the guard went into the city and told the chief priests everything that had happened. After the priests had assembled with the elders, they devised a plan to give a large sum of money to the soldiers, telling them that you must say, his disciples came by night and stole him away while we were asleep. Because if this comes to the governor's ears, we're in trouble. We will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble. So the soldiers took the money and did as they were directed. And this story is told among the Judeans to this day. There is an attempt to hide the truth. There is an attempt to cover it up. There is an attempt to silence the resurrection. And it's put in place by the authorities of the day. Why? Because Jesus threatens the authorities of the day. Because what the authorities want to do is to maintain power. And if word gets out that this Jesus has been resurrected, we've got some real trouble. Power will go to great lengths to hide the truth and to stay in power. It's an old story. The authorities, both the religious and the political, literally empire, the Roman Empire in this case, is terrified of Jesus because he sets the prisoners free. He doesn't lock them up. Jesus proclaims the good news to the captive. He proclaims sight to the blind. Because Jesus threatens everything about the power structure, which is abusive and depressive, and most of all, finite. Because Jesus turns the empire on its head. Because the power of God, because the kingdom of God refutes everything that empire insists on. The kingdom of God is built on the economy of God. And in the economy of God, everyone who has been last is now, finish it for me, everyone who's been last is now first. Blessed are the poor in spirit, not the accomplished, not the successful, not those who have pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. Blessed are the meek, not the outgoing, not the proud, not the pedigreed, not the ones with MBAs, not the ones with PhDs, not the leaders, the meek. This isn't the message that Pilate or the Jewish authorities want anyone to hear. Because if they do, they know they're going to lose their power. In the kingdom of God, the last are first. The mighty are cast down from their thrones. The lowly are lifted up. The proud are scattered in the imagination of their hearts. The hungry are filled with good things, and the rich are sent empty away. And all of that, I just quoted Mary's language from the Magnificat. That's what Mary says when she learns she'll bear the Christ child. Those are her literal words. The resurrection in the gospel reading is central to the kingdom of God because it reorients everything. It redefines the world as we know it. The empire knows, as the religious authorities know, who devise a scheme to keep the resurrection secret. If death no longer figures in the equation, then what do they have? What motivates? If you take death out of the equation, what will motivate anybody? If the cosmic order of things that has always been, if the certainty that death will come and that we can use death as a threat, then if you take it out, what is there? How do we do the things we've always done if the central core of our understanding is no longer there? I don't know about you, friends, but I'm ready for an earthquake. I'm ready for a redefinition of everything I see around me. I am really, really, really ready for joy to accompany the fear of great possibility that the Marys have, a combination of emotions as they leave the tomb. I am so weary of the triumph of empire, even though I know in my heart that empire is elusive. Even though I know in my heart that death will not win. Even though I know in my heart that there will come a time when we no longer drop bombs on other nations. Even though I know in my heart when there will come a time when avarice and greed, when lies and deceit and cruelty for the sport of it no longer exist. Even though I know in my heart that there will come a time when the power and resource of the rich and the powerful, and I'm a part of that group and so are you, that there will come a time when the rich and the powerful will be supplanted by the authority of the once powerless and the redefinition of power itself. Even though I know there will come a time when the wolf will lie down with the lamb, to quote Isaiah, and when peacemakers are called children of God. Even though I know that there will come a time when no one is called illegal. Even though I know there will come a time when nobody is hungry. Even though I know there will come a time when pain and hardship will cease. Even though I know there will come a time when inhumanity is no longer the currency of the day, and my soul is so wearied by life in this empire that I am daily tempted into the disempowering notion that this is all there is. Do you sometimes feel like giving in to the notion that this is all there is? Empire wants me to believe this is all there is. Because empire wants me to believe that pain and death are threats, because in death nothing matters. Because empire wants me to believe in empire, not resurrection. And sometimes, friends, sometimes I almost buy what empire is selling. Because as William Wordsworth wrote, the world is too much with us. Late and soon, buying and spending, we lay waste our powers. An empire is loud, and it is heavy, and it is bullying, and it is so present. And it refuses to admit that there is anything else. But those are lies. Friends, those are lies. Promise, they're lies. And it's on Easter morning. And it's in the reading in which the two Marys go back to the tomb in their duty to discover that nothing is the same anymore after this morning. That the lies of empire are dispelled. That the rocks get rolled away from our tombs. And that life is no longer, as Macbeth shares in desperation in Act 5. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. No, that is not life in the resurrection. Rather, that life is cracked wide open as if by an earthquake, and it is redeemed in Jesus. But instead of the lie of empire, we learn that life is love and grace. In life there is light and hope, because death is no longer a thing. Empire, in all its sound and fury, whimpers as Jesus and the resurrection redefine life. In the glory of a resurrected Lord, death is powerless. And from the finality and penalty of empire, death gives way to freedom and eternity. Friends, you and I on this Easter morning defy empire. We defy the lies of empire, and we declare with the faith of God resurrected that death has no dominion over us. Death is fleeting. Our hope, our fate is in the resurrection. And friends, this is what gets me through the days when empire seems to win, when the news is dark and the lies are strong. Rather, my fellow believers in the risen Lord, this very morning dawns with an unspeakable power of a new creation and a life that is everlasting, joy that is unbounded, and light that never ends. The resurrection, friends, the empty tomb defines us as Christians. And so I call on us, friends, this week and this year to go into our meetings, to go into our interactions with other people, into our conversations, into our dinners, into our families, into the self-defeating thoughts and ruminations we have, and to redefine the narrative. Call out the darkness and the lies. Change the misinformation. Reorient the system so that the bully of empire whimpers like the Wizard of Oz once discovered, into submission to the light and love that is resurrection. In little steps, I call on us. Redefine with light. In little actions, call out the dissembling of empire. This Easter morning, friends, I call each of us to model lives built on hope, not despair, light, not to darkness, truth, not lies, faith instead of doubt. that our call to counter the narrative that this is all there is and that empire will win is Jesus' call on us as believers in the resurrection and the knowledge that the kingdom of God is here and still coming, and that life conquers death forever. That the resurrection is ours and life everlasting. Alleluia, Christ is risen.